Hi guys, welcome to Book Reviews with Fee. I know it's been a minute, but life. Today I am back to review this sci-fi thriller, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Now in this story, Jason Dessner, he is a physics professor at what he calls a second-rate college. He's married to the love of his life, Daniela, and they have one 14-year-old son, Charlie. So their life is pretty routine. Background on Jason, he was once this physics phenom, and he, had this trajectory in science that could have led to like a Nobel Prize and all these things. However, when he meets Daniela, they fall in love. She gets pregnant and they decide to keep the baby. And so he because he can't devote that level of dedication and time to research, he takes a job as a physics professor. Now Daniela, she's this up and coming artist, and she is also like a phenom. Well, she has some postpartum issues, and the baby was born prematurely, so he had some health issues. So she mutes her career to become a mom, and she teaches private art lessons. So they're very happy. You get the sense that they're a very happy family, middle class. However, every now and then, both of them have this little angst about, okay, what about the path not taken? Well, Jason, his arch nemesis or colleague, wins this very prestigious physics award. And Jason would have been, that guy's name is Ryan Holder, and Jason was on the trajectory to win that before he made different choices in his life. So he was just like, well, what if? Well, he goes to this bar where they're having a celebration for Blake, and as he's leaving, he basically gets kidnapped. He gets kidnapped by a man in a geisha mask, and holding a gun, and he can't see the guy's face. He can just hear his voice, and he's ordering him to get into a car, to drive to an abandoned warehouse. He orders him to strip naked, and then he orders him to put on different set of clothes, and he doesn't know what's going to happen to him. And he's just like, look, the only thing he wants to do is get back to his family. Well, this guy takes him, he shoots him in the arm with some substance. He shoots himself in the arm with the substance. The next thing you know, they are both out cold and next to this, or inside this weird box. So Jason wakes up, and he's not in the abandoned warehouse. He is in a laboratory being strapped to a gurney. People are welcoming him back, and he has no clue who these people are or what the heck is going on. So we learn that he has been kidnapped to replace a version of himself on a different timeline in the multiverse. And that's where the story gets good. So Dark Matter explores this idea of a multiverse, and that there are different versions of you that exist on a different timeline within the universe. So every time you make a decision, there's a split that occurs, and there's a version of you who became the physics phenom, and then there's a version of Jason who was a professor and had a family. And I think, I don't want to ruin it because it is a thriller and kind of like a what's going on, what's happening, who done it type of deal. But there's a lot of action, especially as Jason is trying to get back to the multiverse, the universe that contains his real life. Because as he's going on these journeys, he's realizing that every decision, there's a split, and there are multiple versions. I will just say, so I do recommend it. On a different note, I just like the ideas of humanity that that arise when reading this book. Like one being, what about the path not taken? And also this idea that what you're feeling manifests into your life. So I guess I could share this. So the Jason, the physics phenom, creates what Jason, the physicist professor, had been working on in like his early career. He was going to create this small cube that allowed particles to have this superposition where they could be, I guess, in two places at the same time, basically proving the multiverse theorem or theory. And Jason, the physics phenom, actually takes it a step further, and he builds this huge cube that can fit, you know, human beings inside of it, and those human beings can exist in a different timeline in the universe. So that's kind of how Jason, when he, you know, escapes that life where he was he basically escapes back into the box once he realizes that's what's happening or what happened to him, and he keeps going to different timelines, and in each timeline he encounters some different version of himself. But once he realizes how he can manipulate the box, he realizes his intentions are creating his life. And so it kind of goes back, even, I know we're talking about science, but even to the Bible where it says, as a man thinketh, so is he, or how people talk about manifestation and setting your intentions. So when he's afraid, and he, you know, opens this door, because it's like an infinite door, infinite corridor with doors that are exactly the same. And every time he opens a door, it's a different version timeline, but it's an infinite number of timelines. But how he can influence what manifests in that timeline is his thoughts and how he's feeling. So when he first was there, he was afraid and hopeless. And so the world he entered was a hopeless, barren, you know, landscape. So he spends this time trying to feel, conjure up in his thought, his home, but he keeps missing the mark. But yeah, just those ideas of your thoughts creating your reality, and it really made me at least introspective, like, well, am I appreciative of the life that I'm living right now, and how am I making that life the best, fullest life, versus me always wrestling with the idea of, well, what if I'd gone to a different school? What if I'd not moved to Texas? What if I'd chosen this person? So yeah, it's really an enticing premise of a book where you get to live a different version of your life where you made a different choice. And I was Googling it, and I realized there is a Apple TV series that they made from the book. So now I don't have Apple TV, so I need to borrow somebody's password. Can I borrow your password? Because I really would like to see the film adaptation of the book, to see, because I have an idea in my mind of how it would play out, but I was reading it thinking like, oh, this could be a series. This could be a series. So let me know, have you read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch? Also, the narrator is John Lindstrom, and I think he does a good job. It is a one-person narrator, so the women's voices and the kids' voices and everybody's voice is one person. And, you know, I have a thing when women read men characters and men read women characters, but the action is so good, you get over that quick. So, hey, let me know if you've read it and what you think.